So today we're having Mr. Zix on the show, but let me not spill the bean. Let me give him a chance to introduce himself. So Mr. Zix, how would you like to introduce yourself today in the show?
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for having me to your show or on your show. So my name basically Zakes is just a nickname. So my full name and surname is Zusakhe Leo Papiyana. Papiyana being my surname. So if anyone would ask who's Zakes or who's Zusakhe, I'd say I'm just a guy in Kulele Ekomani, which is in the Eastern Cape. I come from the Eastern Cape. I was raised by a single mother, and I have three siblings, sorry, two sisters and one half brother. So growing up, I grew up from in Eastern Cape, Ekomani, which is another small town in the Eastern Cape, which is Ematlaki, 1019 Nightingale Street, which is a castle that I grew up in. So yeah, so otherwise brief explanation of who I am. I'm just a loving, talkative, and a person I'm a people's person basically. So that's just about it, yes.
So Mr. Zix, from what I'm hearing, you are saying you grew up from Eastern Cape. Eastern Cape is the like the part of rural areas in Eastern Cape.
I wouldn't say rural. A lot of people say rural, but I wouldn't say rural. It's a township. Your township, just the same as King Williamstown. So but then it's less small in a sense. So I think you cannot define it as rural because yeah. So I wouldn't say it's rural. It's just a town, same as any other town.
So how was you like growing up in that type of environment, or let me say society?
I think so. Growing up in that environment actually made me who I am. I think at this point in time, like where I am now, and what I have, which is your morals, principles, and values that I have now. I think I took all of that from where I grew up. So growing up there isn't one of the easiest things, or even growing up myself. Growing up for me wasn't easy, which means because I was raised by a single mother. So I had to be, and I'm the only son that she had. So I think with that being said, I had to be the person who more like stands up in Kaya. So I had to be that person at a very young age, and having two sisters that would look up to me and be like, you know what, Puti, we need this, Puti, we need that. So I think with that being said, I didn't have a soft life, but I had a standard life where like any other kid or any other normal kid that grew up from a small town, just like a Komani. So yeah, so I think that's a brief thing or brief explanation that I would give you towards that. So yeah.
So you sound like you had like a strong background. So do you think your background has some perspective in your life, like currently?
Yes, I do really think that my background and me growing up has a lot of impact in how my life is now. There is positives, there is also negatives of it. So what I'm saying with that, or the reason why I'm saying that is because, the positive side is basically it has molded me to be the strong person that I am now. It has given me the principles and values once again that I have now, and it has showed me that you have to appreciate life, whether you're on your deathbed, whether you are sick, whether you are not sick, you're strong and healthy. You need to appreciate everything in life, and the small things also, to be grateful for even waking up. So with that being said, so that's why I would say that my background is one thing is one part of my life that is very strong, and that is helping me through my day-to-day struggles, if I put it that way.
So Mr. Zix, I want you to take us to your world, like how you started schooling and how would you like explain your schooling experience from primary school, high school, and then to varsity.
Oh, okay. So it's actually a very not a long journey, but it's a very complex journey. So I started off primary school. I went to Royal Capital. That was a semi-private school that I went to. So I started my grade 1 till grade 7. So I think that's where I also found the love for rugby, which was because I started playing rugby at the age of 8. So I started playing rugby then, and then in that Royal Capital. So I played there, and then I think moving on to how my journey was in a sense during my primary was that it was actually a fruitful journey, meaning that I started a lot of skills that I have on and off the field, a lot of things that I have now as a person is because of where I started. So what I mean by that is that the rugby that I'm playing now started off at Royal Capital. So yeah, so moving on to that, I was also in that primary phase. I was also the head boy of Royal Capital, which was a very crucial part of my primary journey because it taught me a lot. And then moving forward to high school. So high school, I went to 2 different schools. So one is Water School Hunt Club. So I went there. When I went there, I started my grade 8 to grade 11. I went there. I went to school at Hunt High School. So that also when I got there, I think I had a friend of mine. People just say we look similar. His name is Kanye Bikicha. So with that we looked like twins basically. So we were people that stuck together. So when I got there, also rugby started also growing from there on. So my rugby started growing. I think my first ever serious rugby that I really played was in high school during that time. So yeah, so with that I came to High School knowing no one and everyone. So yeah, then moving forward, so now I am at UWC, and so those 3 different journeys of my life just really gave me a lot, and I've learned a lot from it. And then my matric in high school, I went to Global Leadership Academy, which is back in Jeffreys Bay. So yeah, so that's just a brief explanation as to how my journey went about with regards to my education or school. So yeah.
Okay, so now from what you said that you are from township, right? And then you say you started playing rugby at your childhood, right? So as we all know that the only sport that is mostly likely to be played in township is football. So you now playing rugby, meaning you are now doing something that is different from what other kids are doing. So how did you overcome that? Because I know that maybe that was a challenge in your life. So how did you manage to do something that is different from what others are doing?
So I think I wouldn't say it was really a challenge, man, because the township that I grew up in, we had a lot of rugby overs. So with a lot of rugby guys that played rugby.
So since you were playing rugby from your childhood, would you say you knew back then, since growing up, that you are passionate about rugby?
So let's start off by I never anticipated myself to be a rugby player, first of all. So I think the reason why I started playing rugby was because of my mother. So my mother, we used to, when you're a child, you used to get those ball where you go buy a ball. And so I started playing with this rugby ball, and then we were kids, me and my brother, my half brother, we used to play in the yard, in front of the yard. And then my mother asked me this one time, what sport would you want to play? Because she was a person who loved sport. And I was like, I don't know. And then she said, I must actually try rugby and see how it goes. So my journey with the rugby, considering the fact that you were saying the word challenges that I probably would have faced, the only challenge that I really faced was not being picked for the squad, or putting in putting in the work and then not getting recognition. So that was the only thing that I faced, mainly because I'd get bad or negative comments from the players also. I think now that I'm understanding it, it was just that I was doing what I was doing with the best than them. So I think so the only chance that getting into rugby. So first of all, I was not a person who was big in size and in height or tall in height. So I didn't have all those questions like, okay, he's tall in height, so we can use him here. So I was a short guy, short and skinny guy. So how I got into that, the challenges that I faced was just basically that. So what I did, I made sure that I had people in my corner that were backing me up. So the likes of Kevin Span.
So yeah, now Mr. Zusakhe, since you are someone who was born and raised from a township, and now you are playing a different sport from what it is normally played by other kids in township, like football, example. So how did you overcome those challenges as a child playing a different sport from what other children are doing?
I think to start off, I think first things first. I think the real reason or the real thing that helped me with overcoming all of that is basically I had friends that were interested in rugby, that played rugby. I had we call them Grootmans that played the rugby during the time, and they wanted us to just play rugby. So also within school, I had friends that played rugby. So that's why I think that one aspect of trying to be different from everyone else, I didn't really face it because we play any sport when it comes to when you are within our township, and then going to school or play rugby and all that. Break times we'll play soccer here and there. So I think I tried so much to play each and every sport just to see which sport that I fit in. However, I didn't anticipate myself as a rugby player. I did that because my mother actually was the one who said to me, you know what, try rugby, play rugby, you'll be good in it. So she had faith in me, and she believed in me more than I believed in myself. So that's when that started and everything else. And then going forward, I think the coaches helped me a lot because I had a lot of backlash from players and everything else. So because of my size and because of my height, I was seen as he's not gonna like that. Those players that just warm the bench and everything else. I think that's I beat the odds when it comes to that. So I think the coaches helped me a lot. A lot of coaches that I would name a few. I would name a few of them off the top of my head, like Kevin Span, Coach Aubrey, when the school that I went to for my matric.
So now, Mr. Zusakhe, I want you actually to take us in your emotional space. As a rugby player, you guys do a lot of training, right? So how do you overcome that space of you training and then not get a chance to play actually? If that happens, how do you overcome them as a player?
So with that, I think there has been so many times where I would be frustrated. So back in high school, I'll take it back to high school. So back in high school, when I got there, I played 18 throughout. Then I went to open division. So it's your first team and your third. So depending on how big your school is. So we had second team and first team around that time. So that was back in high school. So there was a time where I took a break from rugby. So not a break necessarily, but I had what you call off season. So off season I trained, and then trials came about. And then when we went to trials, we played well, and then I eventually got picked. But then now you getting picked for the training squad is different from you getting picked for starting lineup. And my thing was I wanted to get to starting lineup, so starting lineup. So I wasn't picked for that, and then that emotionally made me, I'd say, a mad person if I'm going that way. So it really took a lot from me. So, but then how I overcome that, or how I overcame that was basically I made sure that even though I am not picked as of yet, my time will come. So it's a matter of consistency, staying in the I usually say it's staying in the fight until your day comes. So I think that's what I did. I stayed in the fight for the longest time, and then I got my time. So I think what to sum it up, just staying in there and staying consistent. So I went to the gym, came back, went to practice, did all of the fundamentals that I needed to do, and then after that I eventually got my time to shine. So yeah, so that's just that. So also coming back to now UWC, first year UWC was back in first year coming to UWC when that was 2023. Coming here with my old rugby way of playing, which is the one that I know from high school. Came here with that was a different environment whereby the rugby here is more like a running rugby. The rugby that side is more like physical rugby. So now coming here, me playing the position that I was playing throughout high school. The guys obviously faster than me, guys that had more agility than me and all that. So I had to keep on working to be better than myself, so that I can get to have my time. And then leading on, obviously facing injuries also takes a lot out of a young player. So I faced the injury back in 2023 at the start of the league. So first game playing for UWC, faced an injury, took me out the whole season, came back the last two games, and then that also during that time made me, or did actually take a lot out of my emotional space. However, how I managed to make sure that I stay consistent. I stood up and I told myself, you know what, feeling sorry for myself doesn't really help. I'd rather put in the work that I need to put in order for me to come back better. So yeah, and then also like now I'm also currently facing an injury. But with that also, luckily for me, I have two close friends, of which I don't. For me, they are my brothers, which is Chetwin and Sam. So those two people are actually helping me out with that specific part of my life. So yeah.
Yeah, so Mr. Zixne, for people like me who are from township, or let me say people who doesn't like have clearly information about what rugby is, how would you describe or say what rugby is?
There's a saying that goes around that says it's a gentleman sport that is played by hooligans. So really, so no, but just to describe how rugby is, I think for me personally, it's a sport that that is physical, number one, that also requires you to have a lot of discipline on and off the field. It's a sport whereby it keeps young ladies or young kids out of the streets, out of drugs, out of all of those things that actually are destroying the upcoming youth of us. So I think for me, rugby is just a sport that really requires you physically, mentally, and emotionally to be there. It helps you a lot because a lot of guys like myself also have been to places whereby rugby got us there. If it wasn't because of rugby, we wouldn't have been there. So I think it got us to schools, it got us bursaries. Also, thing of coming from a township that is not rural, but a township that is overlooked a lot. So that for me, that's how I would describe rugby in a sense. So it's just a sport that really helps a lot of young kids that actually want to move out of their poverty in a sense. So I think that's just a summary of how I would summarize how rugby is. So yes.
So as a rugby player, which other players that you say you look up to?
Oh, actually, there's a lot.
Yeah.
And all of them have. There's a reason why I look up to you. So one is jiglr, the likes of Papiyana, the likes of Cam Roiger, so the likes of Audi Sevilla, so all of the likes of Mano Nonu, so the Bandiagi also, the Irish centre. So I think for me, those are the players that I look up to, and also there are players also here like so Damien Willemse, that he's playing for the Stormers now. So the reason why I look up to those players is how they carry themselves on and off the field. Also, not forgetting our captain Siya Kolisi, how they carry themselves on and off the field, the discipline that they have for themselves, knowing that they've worked so hard to get to where they were, and one day they can lose it. So the drive and discipline to actually keep on making sure that impacting people's lives or on the field and off the field. So I think the few that I've mentioned now is just, those that I can think of on the top of my head. The one that I would say that goes above everyone else is Zusakhe Kobe, and the reason for this was I somewhat see myself being in that era of his. So I think that's that. Yes.
So as a player, right? Which team that you say, like, when you see yourself, you see yourself as being part of that team in the future, or like you wish to be part of that team?
A lot of people would say, a lot of guys that are from South Africa that are playing rugby would say, if you speak internationally, would say the Springboks. For me, I'd say it's the All Blacks. This is mainly because growing up, I've always loved the All Blacks, how they play, the style of playing, and also the energy, man. So being or experiencing a different culture out of us, obviously, me being in South Africa, being part of the Springboks would be something good, something that I would love, something that would be a thing of, this is a goal that I've achieved, in a sense. So if you're speaking professionally, I'd probably say the Stormers or Lions between the two. So those two teams are teams that I just really look or watch a lot. So I think those provincially, those two teams. Internationally, it's basically the All Blacks, but yet again, I am in South Africa, so it's basically South Africa. So
So now, Mr. Zakes, you're now playing for UWC, right? How is it for you as a player to play for a UWC?
Currently I'm a UWC, registered UWC player. Look, there isn't difficulty in UWC other than the fact that you have to, if you're coming from where I come from, you have to adapt a lot. So you adapting might be a challenge also. Also, I feel like there's a high number of players that are here, so you getting picked out might be a challenge if you don't put in the work. I think other than that, playing WC is actually great because you've got good coaching staff. The likes of Coach Tiger, who's actually, or Coach Jamba also. Those two coaches, for me, those are the coaches that actually motivated me to actually coming back to UWC, playing at UWC again. And they've actually been consistent with the fact that they want to see me at a certain level or at a certain level of rugby, and they want to see me go further in life. So I think with that also, I think for me it's very helpful, and it minimizes a lot of challenges. So meaning I don't get to experience a lot of challenges. To answer your question, I don't get to experience a lot of challenges because I have those people in my corner, and also the likes of, as I mentioned before, my two brothers or friends, best friends, which is Chetan and Sam. They've played at UWC before, so they know the system way better than I do. So they do put in the inputs here and there, and they do help me on and off the field to make sure that I become the player that one day will be the face of UWC. So yeah.
So here in WC, right, as a rugby players, do you have or do they provide something like emotional support for you as players?
Look, I think looking back, also you must remember at UWC there's different structures. UWC as a whole. So for me, I think there is city place that you can use. So I think besides being a rugby player, as a person also you can use that facility to make sure that you do deal with your emotional support, and also I think you can rely to the coach or can rely on the coaches, which is say, I'm not feeling this, I'm feeling a bit under the weather, and then you can just briefly speak to them, and I think they are very welcoming staff and or coaching staff, and they do understand that players go through a lot on and off the field. So yeah.